Morning, y'all. It is a rainy day here. I want to talk about incubating chicken eggs on a budget. Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to spend a fortune to incubate some chicken eggs. Our setup here, of course, we've had this setup for probably about 13 years, and it only cost us, I think we paid $25 for this incubator used. And so you can do it. Probably can't do it for that cheap now. Inflation, things have gone up. You can get a working, reliable setup for much less than $100. Matter of fact, probably around $70, you can get a great setup, especially if you try to find some deals. I'll go over those prices later, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about what equipment you need, why you should incubate versus buying chicks. If you stick around to the end, I'll give you some tips. Let's get into it. But before we get into that, I got to go feed the goats. Well, the goats are smart. They're staying in here. All right, guys, here's you some hay. There's a bunch. You just split it up into two piles because sometimes this little guy right here is a little bit greedy, and he'll knock the two ladies around. So we make two piles, keep this little guy from being a bully. All right, so let's talk about incubating on a budget. What do you need? What are the must-haves? You need, number one, you need an incubator. We have a Little Giant styrofoam incubator that we bought used. We've had this one for over 12 years. We bought it used for $25. The second thing that you're going to need is a digital thermometer and hygrometer. This measures your temperature inside your incubator, and it measures your temperature and humidity. It also tells you what your highest humidity was and what your lowest humidity was, and the same thing with temperature. This is a must to make sure you got a good. This is a must to maintain your proper temperature. This does have a thermostat, but it is a dial indicator. It just turns the dial. There is no digital thermostat or thermometer on this. It's just a dial. So you need, if you're going to go this route, you need to use a digital thermometer and hygrometer because you need to manage your temperature and your humidity. More on that later. I'm going to put this back in here so that it can be monitoring our hatch. We are incubating eggs right now. We have about 16 eggs in here that are incubating. We put these in, I can't remember when we put the 26th. We put these in June 26th, and they're due to hatch July 17th, I believe. Not sure. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's all you need. All you need is the incubator and the digital thermometer and hygrometer. We've incubated over 100 eggs with this setup. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to have some success with you don't have to spend a lot of money to have success hatching chicks. So why should you consider incubating your own eggs versus just buying baby chicks? One reason, it just helps you to expand your flock. If you've got some good qualities that you want to pass on to that next generation, you can do that. That incubation gives you the freedom to be able to choose. Depending on how you manage where your eggs come from, it gives you the ability to choose your genetic. Second reason is, but it's a good alternative to buying chicks from your local supply store. So if you buy from a supply store, you just going to know going in that they're not taking the best care of. That's just how it is. And so that's why incubating is really, a little better because you are in control from the moment that the egg is put into the incubator until you hatch out that baby chick, and then you are in control of that whole growth stage. You know what you put into them, you know what you feed them, you know how you're taking care of them, and that just gives you the opportunity to take care of them properly and make sure you're not dealing with sickness and disease. The second reason is it's much more economical, especially if you're just have a small flock. Years ago, we bought 30 pullets from a hatchery that we had shipped to here, and we raised. They were red sex links and they were great egg layers. At the time, we had a Rhode Island red rooster and a couple of Rhode Island red roosters, and we would actually incubate the eggs from those sex links and those Rhode Island reds and raise our own and kind of expand our flock. The problem with buying from hatcheries, and I highly recommend doing that, but the thing about hatcheries, cater to large orders. It makes perfect sense for the large hatcheries to ship large batches, and so many of them charge a premium for small orders. You want 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 12, you're going to pay a premium. One place that we looked at this year is going to charge a $40 premium for under 100 chicks. So, it makes it very uneconomical for small orders. So that's another reason to think about incubating your own eggs. Incubating can be very economical because it is much cheaper to buy fertilized eggs than it is to buy baby chicks. And sometimes you can even get fertilized eggs for free, depending on the situation. More about that later. So our next thing I want to talk about is where to get fertilized eggs. Now, you can order fertilized eggs. A lot of the hatcheries that you'll go to will sell you fertilized eggs. So the second option is just find a local person that's raising chickens, and maybe they're selling eggs, or maybe they're breeders. Just go and tell them, hey, look, I'd like some eggs to incubate. Or maybe if you're like us, you have family or friends that raise chickens. You can ask them for some fertilized eggs. A lot of times you can get them for free. These eggs didn't cost us anything. We got them from my sister-in-law. One tip I'll give you, if you're going to do that, if you're going to buy eggs from somebody, or if you're going to get some eggs from family and friend, make sure you tell them your intentions. Tell them that you're planning on incubating them, because after all, that is their genetics, that is their flock, their bloodline that you're dealing with. And you want to make sure you let them know, hey, I'm buying these eggs to incubate them. Most people will be fine with it. I worked out a deal with my brother and sister-in-law and just said, hey, look, we'll give you pick. If there's chicks that we have that you want, we'll give you the first pick. We'll let you have some of that hatch. Let's talk about some tips. And this goes without saying, you have to make sure that you're using fertilized eggs. You can't go to the grocery store and get eggs off the shelf there and take those home and incubate them. They have to be fertilized. Chickens will lay eggs with or without a rooster, but they will not be fertilized. You cannot hatch them unless there is a rooster there. So they have to be fertilized. That goes without saying. Tip number 1 is use the freshest eggs possible. We've got a little experiment going on here. I have about 11 eggs here that were incubated within 3 days of when they were laid. So they're very fresh. I also have, as an experiment, I have about 5 eggs over here on this side that were incubated probably about a week and a half to 2 weeks after they were hatched. We candled these eggs already. The eggs that were fresh, there appears to be an embryo in every egg. The eggs that were not fresh, we have yet to find an embryo. Now we're going to let them ride. We're going to see what happens, but I'm not expecting much. So tip number 1: make sure you're using the freshest possible eggs. And so if you're buying eggs from somebody, let them know, hey, look, can I get some that maybe were just hatched and just laid in the last day or two? Tip number 2: make sure you're using a digital thermometer and hygrometer. Maybe you have an incubator that does that for you, and that's great. But if you don't, if you're starting out with something like this, that is going to be vital, because temperature and humidity are critical. So you want to make sure that your temperature is in between 99.5 and I think 101 or 100.5. It needs to be in that window, and your humidity needs to be in the 60s. And it changes. I think humidity can come down some when they're beginning to hatch. If you're using a manual incubator like this with a heating element and without a digital thermostat, you're going to need a digital thermometer and a hygrometer to make sure that you're in the window. Tip number 3: if your incubator does not have an automatic turner, our incubator came with an automatic turner. If you buy the Little Giant incubator from Amazon, the one I believe it is about $60, it will not come with an automatic turner. The automatic turner is sold separate. If you want to spend that extra money, I recommend getting the automatic turner. It'll save you some time, but if not, you're going to have to turn your eggs at least twice a day. That mimics the natural movement that the hen does. The hen will turn the eggs, and she kind of gets up and she'll move them around. So you want to make sure, if you don't have an automatic turner, that you are turning your eggs at least twice a day. Tip number 4 is a tip that we learned the hard way. Make sure that you keep your incubator in an area where the temperature is consistent. Now, why does that matter? Because the heating element is just hooked to a little dial that you can turn up and down, and it doesn't matter if you put it in a room, and in the morning, let's say if you set up your incubator in morning time, your ambient temperature is 72 degrees. You set up, you get everything going, you get your temperature settled at 100 degrees or 99.5 degrees, and you're great. The sun comes up, the ambient temperature raises up to 80. This thing's going to be in the hundreds because it's not digitally controlled. It is just a dial. So this thing's going to be in the hundreds. That happened to us. We had ours in an area that was next to an outside door that had a window, and the sun came in, and we came in one afternoon and went to check on the incubator, and it was 120 degrees. So whatever eggs were in there were done. They were cooked. So if you're using a setup like this, you want to put it in an area that is consistent in temperature. We've got ours in, actually this is our spare bedroom / workout area, but we've got ours setting in here. That's key. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be in an area where the temperature does not change. Tip number 5 is to use an app on your phone to help you track your incubations. I use one that's called Egg Hatcher, and it's a free app. It's just a very simple app that you track when you start. You track the day that you start. It tells you when you should candle, and it tells you when you should take them off the turner and get them ready to hatch. And it just helps. It just helps you stay on track of things. You can use a calendar. We used to do that. We just used a calendar. We would mark the day that we started. We marked the day to candle, and we marked the day to take them off the turner, and then the day that they would hatch. But app on your phone makes that process a whole lot simpler. Tip number 6, to manage your expectations. Not every egg is going to hatch. The old adage is true. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. We've never had a 100% hatch rate. It's just not. I don't believe that is. That doesn't happen in nature. That doesn't happen with a hen when she's setting on eggs, and it's not going to happen artificially. So set your expectations. Realize that you're not going to get 100% hatch. There may be hatches that you don't get 75%, or hatches you don't get 50%. We've had hatches where we didn't even get 30%. I mean, that was a very bad hatch, and more than likely you're going to have more than that, but be prepared. Prepare yourself. Manage your expectations. Not every egg is going to hatch. If you can afford it, fill your incubator up. The more eggs you have, the more chicks you're going to hatch. If you're watching this video, you're probably like us. You're on a budget. You don't want to spend a lot of money, and this little giant is the best option. Look around. Facebook Marketplace, offer up. See if you can find a used one. A lot of people, when they get into incubating chicken eggs, they start off with this model because it's the cheapest, and a lot of times they'll upgrade. Be on the lookout. You can find these on sale. These can still be purchased brand new. Little Giant still makes them. They're a little updated. This one's probably 15, 16 years old. They're a little updated, but you can still buy them on Amazon without the turner for $60. That's really not bad. That's not a bad price. $60 brand new. If you want the turner, you're going to have to spend a little more money. There's a lot of different prices on there. You're going to have to spend probably about the same amount that you're spending on the incubator. You're going to have to spend on the turner. I think $60, $70 for the turner. I would highly recommend the turner, but if you're on a budget, you can turn the eggs yourself. If ours had not come with a turner, we would have probably we would have dealt with it. We would have just made sure that we kept the eggs turned. The AccuRite digital thermometer and hygrometer, you can buy those on Amazon. They still make the same unit. It looks different, but you can buy that on Amazon for $10. You can start incubating your own eggs if you go the new route. You can start incubating your own eggs for $70 plus shipping. But you don't have to spend a fortune to get into this. And I enjoy doing this. It's something that I enjoy. I enjoy seeing that new life being born. When the goats have babies, it's a very joyful time to see that new life being created. When we incubate chicks and we see those chicks being, beginning to hatch, it's just very enjoyable, and I enjoy doing this. I think you'll enjoy it too. Don't listen to the folks that say you have to spend $3, $4, $5,000 on an incubator. You don't. You can have success with a simple unit like this. Less than $100, you can be on your way. Thank you so much for watching the video to the end. It is such a blessing to Michelle and I that you choose to spend a few minutes with us watching this video. Thank you so much. Have a great day.